Hey everyone, it's Alex and welcome to this inaugural video on the Altered Academy channel. Altered is an upcoming TCG that honestly I could not be more excited about. This game has tremendous potential and I cannot wait to cover it on this channel. We're doing a bunch of things including card reveals, pack openings, deck guides, and most importantly we're going to be doing a whole lot of discussion around the Altered universe. We're also going to be doing a podcast for the Altered card game. There's a lot that's going to be happening on this channel here. So if you're familiar with my content or if you're brand new, consider hitting the subscription button so that you can stay up to date with future Altered videos. With that being said, the card being revealed today is the ORDIS Attorney. This card has also the Yasmir, I'm not even sure how to say it yet, faction, rare as well. And basically this card here is pretty remarkable because it has this really interesting catch-up mechanic in the sense that if your expedition fails to advance, they actually draw a card. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And I think that this additional out of faction card is perfect for reasons we'll talk about after when we discuss the synergies. And the rare goes to a 2 cost, slightly lower power, but you know what? That 2 cost I think is really important because the effect is simply so powerful. So the reduction in cost is huge because it'll allow you to slide it out into games or into expeditions that you know you're going to lose. It allows you to get some, card advantage moving into the later stages of the game, which ORDIS is disproportionately beneficial of because of its ability to zoo the board. So let's talk about some key synergies with this new card. Now, right off the top, I do think this card has a lot of inherent synergy within ORDIS itself, including with the other Bureaucrats, which is like a mini tribe within the faction. Now, there's some ambiguity between the use of language here, so we're going to need some rules verification eventually, but if it works as I believe it does, there's going to be some significant synergy with the Monolith Archivist. The reason why I say this is because the Monolith Archivist, which is a 2/2 with 3 stats across the board, has a defender tag which prevents the expedition from advancing. Now, that doesn't mean it necessarily fails to advance. It could have potentially won from a power perspective, but it cannot advance. Does that affect the attorney's ability to draw a card? Or if the very fact that your expedition does not advance triggers the card effect, right? So the question is, if you win the location, however the archivist prevents it from moving forward, does the attorney still draw? I don't know. I'm going to find out from the dev team when I can, and maybe I'll pin a comment down below, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it as well. This is the thing I love about card games, by the way, right? The way the text is written can be extremely important. I mean, it is extremely important. We have a perfect example of that now. And of course, the rare version of the Archivist allows you to dodge that defender status based on how many Bureaucrats you have available. Now, the Monolith Legate actually is pretty interesting itself because it if you fail to move forward, much like that of the attorney, you're actually able to sabotage from a target reserve, meaning you can sabotage yourself, you can sabotage an opponent, whatever strikes your fancy at the time. And very notably as well, from the reserve, it can be discarded in order to create a recruit into a target expedition, which again benefits the Ordis's ability to zoo the board and use something like charge to then flood the opponent. So right off the top, you do have a lot of very interesting Bureaucrat synergy, and again, whether it fails or whether you cannot move, we have to determine whether or not that effect is in and of itself the same. We go to the next type of synergy, and again, the Bureaucrats, we may as well discuss them. There's one that's really famous here. I mean, if you've been playing any of the demo decks or anything like on, the board game arena, you'll be very familiar with the Frog Prince, right? Frog Prince is a really interesting static card, very strong in Earth and Water. And then you have the 1/1 edition of as well, but it is a Bureaucrat, which is notable. And again, that'll work alongside the Archivist. And then you have the Council, which is a remarkably strong Bureaucrat, which prevents the triggering of any of the abilities from hand, anywhere, and from reserve, which is huge. It basically negates anyone to be able to do that from within their actual expedition. It does note that it is characters facing them that cannot do that, so still targetable by spells and things along those lines. Anything that might not be a character can still function, but still, these are the Bureaucrats that in and of themselves should work hand in hand with the ORDIS Attorney. Now, these ones aren't as synergistic as the ones prior, but still, as Bureaucrats, it's worth mentioning. And then the other Bureaucrat worth mentioning is going to be Robin Hood. Now, Robin Hood does increase the cost of the cards of your opponent, specifically characters. The rare version increases the cost of all cards, including spells. And then we have another interesting card which I want to talk about, because drawing cards in card games is extremely powerful, right? And Baba Yaga is, in my experience, an incredibly powerful card. And so as a rare, Baba Yaga can be played in the ORDIS faction with pretty decent stats. Most importantly, when it comes out of the hand, you do draw a card, okay? So that is, you know, drawing cards is valuable. Now, the advantage to the ORDIS Attorney is that it can draw on multiple circumstances, right? Whereas the Baba Yaga's only going to kind of draw once it comes out of your hand, not even from reserve in this case. So again, there is some core advantages to the use of the ORDIS Attorney. Now, as I discussed prior, the Yasmir faction, I do think has a lot of important synergy with the ORDIS Attorney, which it makes me really happy to see that it is a rare out-of-faction option for this faction. First of all, you have Akisha and Taru, and they do the After You. Why is this so important? First of all, After You is an incredibly powerful ability because you basically throw initiative in order to take advantage of the game state later on, and the ORDIS Attorney is great for that because if you know you're going to lose a location and you know you might be just winning the other one, like your opponent's throwing the other expedition and they want to essentially ensure that they take one expedition while giving you the other, you can actually later on play the ORDIS Attorney into the expedition you know you're going to lose to then draw a card, right? So I think that this particular hero is beneficial because you're able to kind of make a read and reaction play that allows you to play the ORDIS Attorney with good results, knowing that, hey, I am losing that location, I'm going to draw myself a card. And of course, Baba Yaga is a good comparison because, well, Baba Yaga draws a card, right? Card draw is important, and how do we do this here? 3/3 for 2/3 stats, and then of course here we have the standard Baba Yaga at 3/2, draw a card, and of course it's only from hand, that's why it's cheaper from the reserve. And then you have firmer stats as a rare. Now, I imagine Baba Yaga is going to be a auto-include from a rare standpoint in most Yasmir decks, so hey, I just think it's a really interesting comparison, right? It's also worth noting that we also have other bureaucrats coming on in as out-of-faction rares from ORDIS to Yasmir. We have the Defender, once again, the Monolith Archivist, and we have the Monolith Legate. So we do have them kind of representing some inter-faction synergy here for the out-of-faction card, which is kind of cool. You can kind of run the bureaucrats in there. You don't get the Robin Hood, you don't get the Council. Council would have been broken, I think. But anyways, really interesting to see it doing what it's doing in another faction in and of itself. Thank you guys so much for watching. I got another, actually I might have another video there. It depends on when you are watching this content because this might be the first one on the channel, so this just might be a blank screen. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining. Again, if you are new to Altered Academy and you're interested in the Altered universe, consider subscribing, simply because this is going to be a channel dedicated to Altered content. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you on that next Altered video.